Hey Aries, these readings are for anyone who identifies with the sign of Aries at this time, August 2019. Or whenever the readings may find you. Thank you for liking, subscribing, commenting, and sharing. Interesting. My name is Aries, and if you are in need of a private reading, all the info you need should be right down below in the description box. So far, Aries, we're looking at the King of Air, the Two of Air, and the Six of Earth. We will certainly show you all of these cards. I will show you all of these cards and definitely expand on this with you. But first, I just want to send out a special thank you to those of you who do tip and donate to the channel. You truly fill me with so much gratitude and inspiration and joy, and I am always sending all of that back to all of you. So with that said, let's see what else comes through for Aries in August 2019. We are using the Deviant Moon Tarot. Information about this deck and all of the decks I use in Lunartics Tarot readings can also be found in the description, Aries. And we are through the Lion's Gate portal now. And you really need to meditate this month, Aries. In the near future, you run the risk of actually becoming ill because you are not taking enough time for rest, relaxation, and meditation. Solemn contemplation and meditation, all by your lonesome, in solitude, all by yourself. Nobody in your ear, nobody telling you what to think or what to think about, right? I'm not saying that you can't ask others for advice and that you can't take that advice, but you also do need a significant portion of time that is just for you to contemplate, to listen to your own inner wisdom. Not just this month, always, all the time. That should be part of your routine and showing up in your near future as something that could actually get you sick or unwell in a mental or emotional way if you don't allow time for that meditation. I want to pull one more card for this general reading for you, Aries, but we are going to do two today. I'm also going to do a second reading that is more specifically focused on love in your life, because I wasn't able to put a reading out for you in July until the very end of the month for the new moon. So those new moon readings were very powerful, but I just didn't get a reading out for you any sooner than that. So I'm going to do these two for you today to try to make up for that a little bit. And there it is. Wow. Okay, let me let you take a look at these with me first. You are represented as the King of Swords and crossed with the Six of Pentacles energy here. The King of Swords came up for you while shuffling and meditating with the deck before recording. So this is the second time I've seen it for you all. I think that you're in a space of needing to make head over heart decisions this month, needing to lean into what is logical, what is practical, what makes sense, how you can execute your routine and your plans without letting anyone around you down, which doesn't always mean doing all the things or doing the most. It often means being honest with yourself and others about what your intentions are, what your limitations are, so that no one is let down, so that promises aren't made that you can't keep. But I don't think that you need that advice. I think that that is the space that you are going to find yourself in. And it likely, with the Six of Pentacles energy crossing you, has everything to do with finding empathy for not only others, but also for yourself. in setting those limitations. We're certainly in a space of wanting to be entirely honest and authentic, even if that means that you might have to disappoint someone by saying, no, I won't be able to fulfill that request, that favor for you because I have too much on my plate. But in whatever respect, you're certainly in a space of wanting to be honest with everyone about who you are, what your plans are, and wanting an equal give and take in your partnerships, your relationships, your work life maybe, since the second reading is going to be more about your love life. In the recent past, I see that you found yourself at, found that you were of two minds on a certain matter in your life, Aries. You've had a significant decision to make in the recent past. And now that you've made that decision, I think that's what you want to be very honest about with whomever you're interacting with this month. You've made your choice, and it may even mean, when we see the Queen or King of Swords, it may even mean you've made a choice that is leading you to cutting certain energies out of your life or away from you, spending less time with certain energies. And that again could be some honest but harsh communication. We'll see what else comes through. In the near future, as I told you, you have this Four of Earth reversed. You're in need of meditation as you move through August, as you move toward the end of Leo season and into Virgo season. You are going to need to spend time again alone in solemn contemplation and meditation. That is never to discourage you from listening to counselors or friends whose advice you trust, or family members whose advice you trust. That's never to discourage you from seeking advice, seeking extra healing, mentorship. But no matter who you are receiving that advice from, you have to remember that you also need the space of solemn contemplation and meditation. And again, it could get you physically ill or mentally and emotionally unwell if you refuse yourself that in the near future. It's a warning that I feel I have to put out there when I see it in reverse on the table. Your advice is to water a seed. You have the Ace of Pentacles as your advice. There may be an earthly opportunity coming in, an opportunity to make money or move house or just improve your financial situation, your resources, your wealth, and subsequently your health in some way. I think you're being advised to take that opportunity here. Again, we'll continue to see what comes through. And your final, I don't know why I say final here, but your outcome of the situation, the more distant future, so as we move to the end of August or into the beginning of September, that is represented by the Lover's card. So you may be moving toward, into a Geminian energy, perhaps, into a partnership of some type. I'm going to steer this reading more toward away from love, since we are doing a second reading that is supposed to be about love. But this could be a union of a romantic partnership. For some of you, both readings will pertain to your love life because that's what's on your mind and in your heart. But for a lot of you, this is just speaking of any type of deep partnership. So partnership where trust is implied and or required, a lengthy entanglement when we see the Lover's card, right? You can get into bed with someone in business, right? So this is a partnership of some type forming, and it can also be this choice is sort of echoed here. You have a choice in your recent past. You needed to make a decision, right? You found you were of two minds. But then even by the end of the month, when you see the Lover's card, this could be saying that that choice is still there. It's just the weight of the choice is apparent to you by the end of the month. And then on the bottom of the deck, blanketing the reading, we have the Six of Fire, the Six of Wands or Rods. And it's in reverse here, suggesting that this is, in some way, shape, or form, it may be about losing a battle to you, and in having to make a choice here, you may feel like you're losing the option you can't choose because you have to choose one path or the other, right? One direction or the other. But let me sit with these cards for just a minute, and then we'll talk more about how they're all connecting to each other. Okay, Aries, so it is interesting that I read this Four of Pentacles as if I were reading the Four of Swords. I'm not actually sure if I said Four of Pentacles or Four of Swords, but this in your near future is actually an energy of letting your guard down, not protecting your boundaries sometimes, but also allowing yourself to loosen the purse strings sometimes. But it is also an energy of being very vulnerable. Now, the reason I read it as the Four of Swords is because the Four of Swords, like the King of Swords, showed up for you when shuffling and meditating with the deck before recording. So when I saw that four, I just assumed it was showing up for us again because that happens so often. But so I do think that it's probably speaking about you being a little vulnerable. And for some of you, that's the space that you need to be in. But what I see coming through most clearly is you have a great idea right now, Aries, and probably one that can make you money or in some way, shape, or form improve your wealth and health, bring in more resources, give you more time, give you more energy in some way, shape, or form, maybe in the form specifically of money and finances. And I think you know who to share this idea with, who to share your time, your energy, and maybe this idea with. The advice is to make sure to water that seed. I think that you have this brilliant idea currently that can also be something to manifest wealth and health for you, right? And in the recent past, you were either of two minds about who to share this idea with, who to share the wealth and health that it brings in with, or possibly whether or not you should execute this brilliant idea of yours, right, Aries? You've been of two minds about it in some way, shape, or form. How to execute it, whether or not to execute it, who to share it with. But the advice from the cards from the divine is to accept the gift that idea is, the gifts that idea leads to make sure to water that seed. It is just a seed. It is just an opportunity. It requires your love, your attention, your nurturing. And I think for a lot of you, that means believing that you can execute that idea, right? Because I think in the past, you've tried to execute, yes, in the past, you've tried to execute an idea that was very similar, or this exact project just has not come to fruition for you yet. So you've been trying to execute it. So in the recent past, you may have been of two minds because you weren't sure whether or not you should stick with it. And the advice is just to continue to water that seed then, because as I said, we do have this this sense of loss, or losing a battle in some sense, blanketing the reading. So I think it was humbling for you when this idea, or a very similar one perhaps, didn't work out the way you thought it would before. And when we see the Six of Fire, it's also saying there is still time. So you still have time to execute that idea, or again, maybe just a similar one. The planets are aligned. We do have Uranus going direct in Taurus tomorrow, still in Taurus, of course, but now going direct. And the Mercury retrograde, of course, is over. The planet Mercury is direct now, but the shadow period, the post-shadow period that we are still under the influence of, that should be done around the 14th, right around the middle of the month, right before the Aquarius full moon. And then we're going to start seeing everything shift over into Virgo at the end of the month. Transition into Virgo, I should say. I'm going to get one clarifier quickly for you on this Four of Pentacles in the reverse. The World card shows up as the clarification on the Four of Pentacles reversed. In allowing, I could cry. I could instantaneously cry, Aries. In allowing yourselves to be vulnerable in the near future as you begin to move through August, that is how you water the seed. That is how you water this idea, this project that you've been of two minds about. It hasn't worked out yet, or something very similar never worked out. Can I do this? Am I capable? You are, but you need to be vulnerable. You know who to share your energy with, who to share your time, your idea with, right? But it's going to require you to be vulnerable. So there is someone who you need to share with, maybe multiple people, maybe a whole audience of people, right, that you need to be open and vulnerable with. And in the near future, that is what you are heading toward. That's the path that you're on now. And that vulnerability is going to give you the ability to manifest whatever you want if you can share openly of yourself, of this idea. And that is not to say to sacrifice your boundaries, of course not, because it's also a warning to protect your boundaries when you see the Four of Pentacles in reverse. But that's a great example of how the upright meaning and the reverse meaning of these cards go hand in hand. When you are vulnerable and sharing openly with others, that is a time when you especially have to be mindful of still protecting your boundaries. That's balance. That's letting both walk in unison together. That is finding that balance. You always want to protect your boundaries, but especially when you're at a place of being vulnerable and open and sharing of yourself, that's when you need to be very mindful of that. You go into that space of vulnerability knowing that you know how to protect your boundaries. If you feel that you don't, then you figure that out first. But that vulnerability is what gives you the ability to manifest then really anything you want. That's a huge step forward for the Aries that are resonating with this. That's something that's been very hard for you to do. And if it's not hard for you to share of yourself, it's certainly been difficult for you to share of this particular idea, this specific energy that you're applying to this project. And I think it's because you've been questioning your ability to execute it. Just to be repetitive one more time, because either this same idea and project hasn't worked out in the past, or because a very similar one hasn't. But the divine is saying continue to water the seed. It is still only the beginning, but it is the beginning of something that can be materialistically, financially beneficial for you, for your wealth, for your health. It is a sturdy, stable beginning. This is a seed that can grow into something beautiful and fruitful, and that really increases your wealth and health. It needs to be watered. It needs to be nurtured. It needs to be nurtured with your vulnerability. And the thing is, you are being so honest with yourself at this point in time that your inclination as to who it is safe to share with, you're right. You know who to share with, or your intuition, your inclination as to who you should share with in order to make this opportunity as fruitful as possible, right? Is dead on. You know, yes, you're being honest with yourself. Both of these cards are upright. You know who to share with. You do. You know who you can share with. You know who you need to share with. It does require vulnerability, so it's not just going to be somebody that it's completely comfortable for you to be candid with, right? And ultimately, moreover than this just being just about your vulnerability and just about your willingness to believe in yourself and share this idea and this work with others, even beyond that, some of your hesitation may be about the fact that this is about this commitment, this lengthy entanglement, committing to this idea, committing to this version of yourself, committing to the routine, the dedication, the hours of work day in and day out that will be required of you to make this seed a full-blown reality, a full, tall, blossoming plant, right? So to speak. This is This is, I think, you committing to the path that you've been indecisive about. Or for some of you, if the indecision continues all the way through to the end of the month, this can be you still weighing out your options. Are you committing to this path or not? The choice is always still yours, right? But I think many of you by the end of the month are going to be, or even just as you move toward the end of the month, are going to be ready to make that commitment to that path, to that future, that version of yourself, to seeing this plant in full blossom, right? You're headed there. While others, yes, you will still be weighing your choices, but as I said at the beginning, the weight of the choice, the weight of what choosing between these paths means for you in your future is going to be very apparent. And above all else, there is still time. And what it's telling you there is still time to do is to express creatively from your heart space, genuinely from your heart space. Allow those emotions to overflow. Allow them to be seen, to be shared. It's about your own healing. What for a lot of you Aries, what is going to make you so vulnerable in sharing openly regarding this project or with these certain people regarding this idea of yours? It requires that you share a part of yourself that is still healing. Now, we are all always healing. That is our life's journey. All of us continue to heal and heal and heal. So anytime you're sharing authentically, openly, of course you're sharing a version of yourself that isn't perfected yet. It's never going to be, right? Of course you're sharing a version of yourself that still has more learning to go, more healing to go, right? And that's what's making you feel vulnerable about it. You feel like you're sharing a part of yourself that's not ready to be seen. But if you're waiting on perfection or complete healing, then you will never allow this idea, this project, your true self to be seen. You will always be hiding that. You will always be healing. And this may be about a specific, maybe even very painful healing for some of you, that you have to be honest with yourself and others. The work is just not completely done on yet, right? But again, that vulnerability is what opens up the world to you, what allows you then to know, if I can do that, if I can live authentically in my truth and share that with others, then I can manifest whatever I want. That will become very apparent to you once you choose this vulnerability. Again, I recommend you knowing how to protect your boundaries before you share openly with a lot of people, or people that you're particularly suspicious of for some reason. Yes, make sure you can protect your boundaries first, but then this vulnerability is the answer to the question you've been asking. Should I or shouldn't I walk this path? Should I or shouldn't I execute this idea or continue to try to execute this idea? The answer is yes, if you're willing to be vulnerable. And no, it probably will not go the way you want it to if you are not. That is a major a key answer to a major question on the table. So Aries, I hope the needed insight was able to reach you there, and with that we will move on to your love reading. Okay, Aries, what do we have for love for Aries in the month of August 2019? Wow, the Six of Pentacles shows up for you a second time. So for some of you, that first reading, that general reading, as I noted, it may be about your love lives, Aries. Yes, if you are particularly focused on solely that at this time, and that's the only reason that you're coming to this reading or readings at all, that very well may be then what shows up in both readings. This again is about finding empathy for both yourself and others, for finding an equal give and take in a relationship, a partnership. Some of you have that, some of you are seeking that. The Ace of Pentacles shows up for you a second time, Aries. This is why I like to switch decks for the second reading, because so many of the cards repeat themselves for almost all of the signs. And so I like to make sure I'm going ahead and using a different deck, so that, you know, you see how that just sort of organically happens, and it's not a lack of shuffling or something. So again, with the Six of Earth, I'm getting the sense, Aries, that you know who to give your energy to. And just as I said, you know, the King of Swords shows up for you a second time. You do. You see the truth. You know who, if there's anyone who needs cut out of your life, you know who that is. You're ready to be honest with someone. You want them to be honest with you. Again, for some of you, this is a partnership you're already in. For others, it's the type of partnership that you're seeking. In either case, I do see, Aries, that you have recently found a state of peace of mind, emotional peace. You may have been in verbal fights and arguments with someone, and you've recently found this peace. You've come to a truce. You've ended the arguments. For others of you, those battles that we're seeing there were solely mental. Those of you who were verbally arguing with someone, of course, you were probably also having mental battles at the same time. Some of you are just seeking a partner, and so those are just mental battles about what you need, who you should accept offers from, perhaps. But I see that at present, you are offered, again, as in the first reading, from the divine, an earthly opportunity, something that will increase your stability, your structure, your wealth, and again, subsequently, your health. Now, this could be an offer from a potential partner that sees a future with you, that you can see a future with, that you could build a home with. Now, this is just the very beginning, so we could be talking about date one or the first month of dating or something, right? But you see that you have the potential for that because the two of you are honest with each other, you trust each other, you want the same things in your future, you have things in common, etc. But for others, this is an earthly opportunity to improve your wealth or your health that is outside of your relationship or your desire for one, and is sort of just something else that you are contending with at the same time, because it showed up in your general as well. So this may be that same earthly opportunity for a new job, to start a new business, for a raise, and that's something that you're trying to prioritize and go after at the same time that you're trying to make sure you have an equal partnership, either through seeking one or making sure you have that balance in the partnership you're already in. A lot of you Aries, though, you feel that you are between two energies. Maybe an ex who popped back up during Mercury retrograde, right? And then someone that you feel that you have a more stable connection and future with, right? But again, you know, with this card showing up right, who to give to. Now, what can be noted here is that, see, this individual is giving to two different people, right? But you see the one that he's not currently handing anything to has it looks like a ticket in his pocket, right? So this means many different things depending on what type of reading it comes in, where it's placed in the reading. Aries, I think that intuitively, subconsciously, you already know who doesn't deserve your energy, your attention, your time right now. If you are in between two people, okay, specifically for those of you who feel you're in between two people, you already know that the reason that you're giving to this one is because this one doesn't really deserve it, right? Now, you know, in this picture, I'm thinking, you know, this person doesn't need to be begging. They're hiding the fact that they have something. And again, not always, but often they're hiding the fact that they're less in need, really, right? And I think that's what's happening. I think they're for those of you specifically who are in between two energies, one of them maybe has someone else as well, and they're being less honest with you about that than you are with them, that type of thing. Or for others of you Aries, you're dealing with someone who is giving to two people, and you're one of those two. But the message remains the same, to have empathy not only for them and their situation, but for yourself and what you need. And if you don't know already who you should be giving to, in the near future, we have that King of Swords, where you are, again, ready to be honest about what you need, ready to be honest about what you have to offer, and just in general, ready to be honest with a partner. So I think that if you are in between two people, that's what's happening. You're intuitively, because some part of your subconscious knows already who deserves that time and energy, you are intuitively already giving more time and attention and energy toward the person who deserves it. And so in the near future, that may mean that you need to cut someone out. Someone who's begging for time and attention, who doesn't deserve it, or simply someone who you must cut out because you can't continue to give your time and energy to two people, right? Yeah, and your advice here is the Seven of Fire, the Seven of Wands or Rods, to stand up for what you believe in, to stand up for those things that you need in a relationship, and those things that you believe are the correct ways to behave, or things to bring to the table in an open, honest, loving relationship, right, Aries? Some of you, when I say you're choosing between two, you may be choosing between giving your time and energy to someone else who wants a relationship to you, or giving your time and energy to yourself and your own projects that may be very fruitful in the future instead, because you feel that you deserve your time and energy more than a relationship or someone outside of yourself at this point. But again, the message remains the same, to stand up for what it is that you believe is right for yourself. Don't accept lies and manipulation, mistreatment of any kind, if that's what you see being offered to you, coming towards you, Aries. And certainly don't settle for a relationship that you feel takes energy away from you or doesn't give you everything you need simply to be in one, when you actually have very promising projects of your own personally to focus on instead. I do think you've made peace with someone in the recent past, like I said, which might be a lot of what makes this so difficult. An ex that you've made peace with, or a partner you were arguing with, and that may be why you're at the reading. You feel that your conscious mind needs to connect or catch up with what I think your subconscious mind already knows. Either way, Aries, some part of you is still waiting on something to show up. You think these fights are going to resurface from the past, or you think that someone is going to show up for you in a way that they never have before from the past. And this message that's blanketing the reading is reminding us that expecting the worst can attract it to you. If you're still waiting on someone to show up for you in a way that they haven't, then I really feel the advice is to focus on your own, as I said, personal projects instead. And keep in mind that, like I said, your intuition, your subconscious already knows at this point who is deserving of your time and energy at this point, and that is who you're giving to, even if that's just yourself. And I think that's the path to continue on if you're still waiting for someone to resurface and to show up for you in a way, especially in an honest way, that they haven't before. Now, if what you're waiting on is for these feuds and fights and arguments to come back, then do keep in mind, like I said, that expecting the worst can attract it to you. By the end of the month, the outcome of the situation or the more distant future in this situation, we see you moving forward, full speed ahead, mowing down any obstacles in your way, whether it's petty ego drama, more mental, verbal battles, or like I said, people begging for attention who don't deserve it. You're moving past all of that with the Chariot card showing up in the upright with energetic, youthful, confident energy toward your goals. So yes, for a lot of you, this is about you choosing yourself over someone who hasn't been honest with you. I know that was sped up. It was a little bit quick, Aries, but I am out of space and time, so I hope that the needed insight was able to reach you here, and I love you, and I will post another reading for you as soon as I can.